You know what? There's actually a lot of revenge games, not just for the Bucs, but for Bucs opponents. So, as we talked about New Orleans, very much a revenge game for the Bucs. We all know that they beat them in the playoffs, but they don't like how it went last year with losing, 2 games to them. The Rams, absolutely, unequivocally, and as I look at my TV on ESPN, Sean McVay, he's a very beautiful man. I'll give him that. But he's on my TV screen right now. My girlfriend calls him hot coach. She's like, "Oh, hot coach. There he is." But anyway, that's the same thing. Yeah. Without question, the Rams are a revenge game. The Bucs have lost to them in the regular season the last 2 years. Lost the heartbreaking, back-breaking, years off life playoff game. By the way, that the Bucs are able to come back from 27-3 just to lose last minute. But then also, too, it's kind of a revenge game for the Chiefs, losing to the Bucs in the Super Bowl. And it's got to be a revenge game for the Packers, too, losing to the Bucs in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. So there's a lot of vengeance going on both sides, whether you're the Bucs or opponents playing the Bucs. So, Josh, out of all these revenge games, is there one of them that interests you the most out of all of them?
It's got to be LA. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the one that to see the Bucs come back from down so much in the first half, to get it so close, and to be that one play away from sending it into overtime, in a playoffs that it featured a lot of overtime. I'd say that's the one that, I'm circling it. I literally have circled it.
It is circled.
Yeah, that absolutely is. The other thing that I'll just kind of bring up, and I'll let you bring it back to Casey for the revenge game thing. But I'm looking through the schedule, and you look at the Bucs defense going up against a lot of these offenses, and there are so many games where it's strength on strength, right? So Todd Bowles, he prides himself on, we're going to stop the run. And I'm just looking at so many of these games, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Seattle, Cleveland, San Francisco, all of those teams that pride themselves on establishing the run and really creating their offense off of their running game. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's really exciting to see a lot of those matchups and hope that the Bucs' strength and run defense is going to be able to really neutralize what those teams build their offenses on. I think that's a really cool aspect of this in a league that's so pass first. You've got some of the best running teams and the teams that still pride themselves on, we're going to establish the run and we're going to play off the run, right on the Bucs schedule. I think that plays right into the Bucs defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I was just looking at the schedule again. I'm starting to do my, this is a win, this is a loss, this is going to happen, this is not going to happen. And I think, and you make a really good point, but I think a lot of this season really hinges on what type of Buccaneers defense are we going to get. If it's the 2020 version of the Bucs, and especially the playoff version of the Bucs, I see no reason why they can't end up with, a 13-4 type of record and play their best against the good teams. But if we get the Bucs that we saw last year with a lot of moving parts, but not getting to the quarterback as much as they wanted to, and I think a lot of that too is what we saw with the struggles of JPP and the injuries and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka in year 2, and the injuries to the cornerbacks and just the hands-off zone, getting beat underneath, but not letting up the deep ball, but letting... I mean, how many times last year did the Bucs make pedestrian quarterbacks look like Pro Bowl quarterbacks that earned the Pro Bowl nomination and weren't just like the 7th alternate because no one else wanted to play? I mean, we got so many times, the Washington game alone, the Trevor Siemian game.
Gosh.
So it's just like if we get that type of Bucs defense, the Bucs are still going to be good. Don't get me wrong, but I can see that being more of a 10-7. I'm not saying the Bucs are going to go 10-7, but I can see the Bucs only getting 10 or 11 wins if they get that style of defense, given the difficulty of the schedule. But again, if you get the 2020 defense, and I think we will get a bounce back too, whether it's because Bowles is the head coach and the players are just going to be a little more fired up, whether it's because hopefully, praise be to Godwin, I know he's an offensive player, but hopefully you get healthy on the defensive side. Yeah. with secondary and with Tryanka letting it fly, spreading his wings, being able to be a full-time outside linebacker, not worrying about having to share all of that. I think if they get back to just being healthy and playing their game and not trying to do too much, and maybe an improved Devin White type of season, I think the sky's the limit for the Bucs if they get that type of defense. It's a big if, but I think all the parallels are there for a bounce back year for the Bucs defense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I loved a lot of the defensive additions that they made, and I think that can complement this current group, and it's going to be a really fun season for the Bucs defense. I definitely think that's to come.
Oh yeah, I would say it's hard not to agree with Josh, especially with the Rams, and I definitely look forward to them getting an opportunity to redeem themselves against the Rams, because the Rams have just had such ownership over them for a little too long. But with that said, there was way too many winnable opportunities versus the Saints. And then Matt said something that just kind of struck a nerve in me. As somebody who grew up in Tampa Bay watching the Bucs, it just hit my heart a little too close to home. The fact that they allowed Trevor and even Jameis Winston, and I'm not lowballing Jameis Winston. He had his moments. The only issue with Winston is that he had an equal level of negatives going against his positives, but the potential is there. But the fact that they made the Saints, who were really just kind of gritting by, look so good for no reason, made me physically sick as a Bucs fan. Like, I need them to correct that situation. I need them to embarrass the Saints, and they have the capability of doing so. And someone in the comments said this a minute ago, but they actually do have quite a winnable schedule here. Not trying to be over enthusiastic, not leading with my heart over my head. It's very winnable. The problem is, like we talked about a couple minutes ago, that they have a tendency to rise to or rise below to the occasion of the team that they're playing with. Number one, the talent is there. It's going to be the scheme. It's going to be, their game plan coming against these guys. And if it's been 2 hefty years of learning something, it's learning how to properly scheme against certain opponents and not shooting yourself in the foot. Like, stop playing against yourself and see what you're actually capable of. And I really want to see them bring it to the Saints this season, regardless of the draft picks, regardless of the health of any of the players returning, and regardless of the vets that they have on that team, because the Bucs really kind of have that much more.
What does DJ Khaled said? He says, like, congratulations, you played yourself. I think that happened a lot. Yeah, I think that happened a lot with the Bucs last year. But what I was saying before about, look at this and this plays to its potential, then it really could be an issue. But also, too, if you look on the flip side, like, okay, these teams might be good, but they're not that good. I mean, again, you look at the 49ers, and that's a big if Trey Lance is really going to be good. You look at the Christmas night game against the Cardinals, like, Kyler Murray was not a very happy camper in this offseason, and he's a player that gets, like, extremely rattled, too, if things aren't really going his way. The Rams, they lost some big pieces. Like, Odell's not going to be there. I know they replaced him, but, they lost their starting offensive tackle, too, Andrew Whitworth. He retired. So, and you always hear about the Super Bowl hangover. The Bucs didn't necessarily have that, too, but, again, Tom Brady is always the exception to the rule.